Hey, how's it going, folks? It's Zuko, and welcome to the June episode of the Preorder Roundup. Sorry if this episode is a couple days late. I actually went to Too Many Games over the weekend, which is a video game convention held in Philly. Had a great time, but I was extremely tired when I got back, so I needed a day off to just, recharge the batteries and whatnot. But we're here now to talk about some figures, and there was a ton of really good ones, including some surprise announcements from, Union Creative of all things, and, Good Smile Company put up one of the prettiest Mikus I've ever gosh darn seen. But we'll get to that in a little bit. For now, we start with the pop-up parades, as we always do. First one up, OMG Kawaii Angel Large Size Pop-Up Parade for 8,800 yen, like they all kind of are when they're the large size. But yeah, I'm not going to make the claim that this is her best figure or anything, but it's absolutely my favorite so far. And it's not even a big deviation from how she typically looks. All she did was put on a zip-up hoodie and took off the platform heels. And it's just, I don't know, a little bit more casual, but it's just so much more appealing to me, I guess, for that reason. Also, I don't remember if she had that, studded collar in her normal attire, but I do like that too. But there's still a bunch of familiar elements here, like the Helix twin tails, the pearlescent ribbons in her hair, the heart tattoos on her leg, but some new stuff as well, the sad cat hair clip, and probably best of all, she has a plushie of herself, just in a bag around her shoulder. That's so goofy, but I absolutely love it. This probably won't be as nice as the Apex version from a technical standpoint, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't really care. It's the design of the figure that's really elevating it for me, and it's still very familiar, it's still very cute, the pose is great, and there's a bonus, you get a sad cat with this one. I think that makes for 3 sad cat figures that they made exclusive pre-order bonuses for, which I'm kind of a sucker for. I really do feel like this is pushing me to also pre-order this one as well. But yeah, man, I think this is going to be a great figure. We also have the Guts Black Swordsman Large Pop-Up Parade, which makes for his second pop-up, the first one being the Berserker Armor, which, I'm going to be real, that one's very hard to compete with, but it's not really a competition. This is a completely different look. The Black Swordsman armor is iconic in its own right, and while Guts is a bit more static here, just standing there with the Dragon Slayer over his shoulders, it still looks cool. I would say the best part about this is the attempt to simulate different textures between all the different elements of his design, like the armor. You got the leather, the cloak, the plating. Pretty good for a budget figure. The only thing I'm a little iffy on is his face, which seems to have a, rough, rigid texture to it. Realistic skin is pretty hard to get right, the pores and the imperfections and all of that. So this sounds good on paper, but in practice, I'm not really sure how confident I am in this approach. But I hope them the best, because this still looks cool. Also in the large size was Altina Orion from Trails of Cold Steel. This makes for her 3rd figure, I believe, in terms of scales, or just larger proportion figures. Completely different outfit from the Kotobukiya one or the QSQ one. Not sure which game this originates from, but it's probably my favorite in terms of design just because of the boots and the black leggings. Big surprise that I like the leggings, but I think it looks cute. The only concern I really have are these hairbands on the I guess the strands in the front, because it looks like they're being hand painted and they'll likely be a little bit rough on the final product because they look rough here, but that's the only thing I can see that I don't like. And again, it's a cheap figure, so they're gonna have to cut some corners in some places. Everything else from the colors to the rest of the sculpt looks extremely good though for the price. Next up, we have Motoko Kusanagi from Ghost in the Shell, a very butt-focused figure. Her cheeks are looking round, and her lips are very lush, very full. Probably my favorite part about this one. I like how she's looking over her shoulder, making the pose a little different from other pop-up parades, while still making her look pretty cool at the same time, and the jacket looks great as well, with a little bit of a flutter to it in the back. We have Miruko from My Hero Academia. Now, this one's a little goofy, but not in a bad way. I actually like how, fun this one is, because most of the time with Miruko, they want to show off how strong she is, how muscular her legs are, and you still get the sense that she's strong because that muscle definition is found in the thighs and her arms, but she's just having a good time with this bunny ear pose that she's doing, and I kind of like it. It's a bit endearing for that reason. She also has a bonus faceplate that you only get by pre-ordering it here, or probably the US store, where she's chewing on a carrot. They're really leaning into the bunny thing here, and I kind of commend them for it, because while I wouldn't say this is better than any of the other figures, while I feel like those are probably a bit more what the people want, it's okay to make something different, and I like the approach here. I think that's it for the large size pop-up parades though, so let's go to the small ones with 2 from Nier Automata. We got 9S and 2B. I guess the page wasn't loaded. But if you ask me, I think this pop-up of 2B looks better than the one that Good Small Company is cooking in terms of their scale figures. This pose is just better. It's just a bit more effective, a bit more stylish. And the one thing that can always be a problem with pop-up parades are the faces, and these 2 figures are most likely, I'd be very surprised if they don't, are going to avoid that pitfall because they're wearing masks over their eyes. They can't really mess it up. The only thing that's actually missing here are the pods, but considering they're 5,500 yen, you shouldn't have expected that, right? I think it's okay that the pods aren't here. They chose good poses for these 2, and the colors, while they're simple, mostly black with a little bit of gold, seem effective. So I like these a lot, honestly. Another pop-up parade I really want to talk about this month, though, was Menma from Anohana. A bit of a surprise, this one. I really liked this show back in the day. I'm sure I'd still like it now. I'm a bit nostalgic for it. That was around the time I really started to watch anime, like, you know, going out of my way outside of Toonami and Adult Swim. So, holds a special place in my heart. But this figure feels very, like, uncompromised. This is just Menma. It's a good pose for her too. Captures that innocent, childish side of her, right? She's just doing a little twirl, most likely showing off the flower in her hair. She's very happy about it. That's the sense I'm getting. You actually get 2 faceplates with this pop-up parade, which is very rare. We did just see one with Miruko, but that was an exclusive bonus. This one you just get no matter what. So it just feels like they really wanted to give you like a perfect little Menma figure, and I think they're succeeding at that. In fact, I'd say this looks better than some of her other scale figures, but nothing's gonna top the old Alter one. That's like the queen of Menma figures. But then we also had Hibiki and Kotori from Blue Archive. Been seeing these for a while now, but they're finally up for pre-order, costing a little bit more at 5,500 yen. That's probably just the Blue Archive tax. They don't look like they're doing too much more than the average pop-up parade. Like when I compare these to the Street Fighter pop-up, specifically like Jury, I think they're just taxing you if you like Blue Archive. But that's not surprising in this industry. They're both very cute. I definitely like Kotori more, as I say every time. They gave her a bit of a belly. I think that's cute. But if you guys can fill me in on something, I know this character has glasses. I was kind of expecting to see them here as like a bonus or something, but they're not. Does she not wear those glasses when she's wearing this costume? But yeah, I still like these. Have no real issues with them. They're adorable stuff. Last few pop-up parades, let's find the tabs for them. We have Nagisa Momoe from the Monica movie with her little trumpet, which is a pretty powerful weapon if I'm recalling, and she's doing a little strut. Cute character. Can't remember if she ever really got any like premium scale figures, but at least we got a pop-up parade now. There's King from One Punch Man, another character who I don't think got a lot of merchandise. In fact, he definitely has gotten less, and I mean, he looks pretty much on point. It's a simple character design, right? The jeans, the long sleeve shirt, and the huge ass scar on his face, but it's all there, it's all accounted for, and the style seems to be on point. We also got Josuke from JoJo Part 4 doing an iconic pose. Face looks kind of like the anime's art style, a little bit off if you ask me, so I'm not like in love with this, but I definitely am not like against it either. I do hope we get Kira at some point, because he's the GOAT. Yeah, I think that's it for the pop-up parades. So let's move on. Alright folks, so before we move on, I gotta take a quick minute to thank the sponsor of today's video, Buyee. Now, if you've never heard of Buyee before, they are a proxy shopping service located in Japan that allows you to shop at Japanese marketplaces that otherwise wouldn't ship to your country. Think Yahoo Japan, Mercari JP, or even sometimes Amazon Japan. There's certain items that just won't be shipped to your country for whatever reason. But with Buyee's help, you can buy them hassle-free. There's like literally hundreds of shops to choose from on Buyee, and there's like tons of shipping options as well, payment methods. It's very straightforward. They aim to make your experience as smooth as possible. So whether it be anime figures, video games, Blu-rays, soundtracks, whatever you could think of, you can probably find it on Buyee. But outside of that, they also offer a service where if it's not on the website, you can't find the specific store, you can make a request for it, which comes really in handy for stuff like this. I'm going to use this Joseph figure as an example. So Sentinel is releasing a new figure of Joseph Joestar, which means they're also continuing the line. We talked about it a month or two ago. With Jonathan, it looked good, and honestly, in my opinion, Joseph looks even better. 19,800 yen, really respectable price. I'm not sure if it's in the gallery, but this guy is also big. I'll grab a photo of that for sure. And they're demonstrating here that the figures kind of like link up with each other, and they're clearly not going to stop at 2. More on the way for sure, we just haven't seen the prototypes yet. But the reason I'm talking about this now is because there is an exclusive version of this figure that you can only get through the Sentinel store. So if you shop at the Sentinel store for the exact same price, you get a second faceplate, new arms, and a whole ass sledgehammer. Like, all of that on top of the main figure for the exact same price. So if you want to buy this figure with all the bonus parts included, all you gotta do is head on over to Buyee, assuming you have an account, press the purchase request from other sites button right here, and then enter the information. And then you'll get a confirmation if they can do it, and then you'll pay from there. So thanks once again to Buyee for sponsoring this video, and if you sign up using my link below, you'll get 10% off your first purchase. And who wouldn't want to save money? So be sure to do that if you don't have an account already. Let's talk about the scale figures now on Good Smile Company's page, and I'm going to try and be even more organized than usual by grouping the companies as much as possible. First up is Komi from Miyuki for 24,000 yen. Now this one's extremely expensive, and I forgot to open this up, but there's actually 2 versions of this, which we'll wait for it to load. This is the special edition. It's the exact same price, and it comes with an extra faceplate. So I don't know if there's shenanigans going on when it comes to ordering this figure. Like maybe it's not as simple as I'm thinking, but you get this blushed faceplate with the special edition, and it's very nice. So I don't know why you wouldn't just go for the special edition instead. But more research is required, unfortunately. So either way, I think this figure is a little bit too much. It's just Komi in her school, like, summer uniform, right? She's doing a little jump, kind of replicating that jump from the, was it season 1 or 2's opening? I can't remember. They're referencing it here with the desks and the chairs flying all over the place, but the figure doesn't actually come with any of that, which is a huge missed opportunity. If you wanted to make a special edition, you should have included some of those elements. You should have had the desks and the chair, because I think that would have really made this figure special. As it stands though, it's still a faithful Komi figure. It looks just like her. Her hair is on point. The shading is great. The pattern on the skirt, the leggings, it's very effective stuff. It's just so simple. And I think they should have lowered the price by, like, I'd say 4,000 yen. That might be still too high, but Miyuki is always expensive, so I'm not expecting miracles here. Aniplex is on Good Smile Company's page today. I don't know if that's a new thing, but I guess we could look forward to seeing some of their announcements here. We have Tactica and Chisato in their wedding dresses for about 24,000 yen, and I think both of them look lovely. Specifically Takina's, I really like this outfit. I've heard people call this like a mermaid style dress, which I think makes sense because it almost looks like fins at the bottom, but that's a really pretty design for a wedding dress. Very slender, right? But like that floral pattern on the top and those like subtle translucencies at the sleeves, and usually for the veil it'll be translucent, but that looks good too. Her bouquet is super unique. I never see it so long, but I also just love the colors of flowers here just to match alongside with the dress, and the gradation and just like the shift of colors on the dress too. So unique, going from blue to like a peach color. That's interesting, like a cream. And of course her face is pretty as well. Chisato's I like almost as much, but I think there's an argument to be made here because it's like all one color. You know, the dress and her skin and her hair are so similar that some of it might get lost, right? That does have the added bonus though of making the flowers really pop on this figure, but I'm not sure if that's like the best route they should have taken. However, it's a very warm wedding dress, which doesn't really happen super often. Usually it's whites or blues or maybe like pinks, just like those hues here and there, but none of that's here, not at all. And as long as they get the finishes on like the individual parts correct, like they're distinctive enough, like the dress will be shiny and glossy, there's like some pearlescent paints maybe on the sleeves and the mattes of her skin and her hair, of course, I think it'll be okay. It just matters how like refined these elements are. If it all blends in too much, then it really won't be that special. But the dress is much more full here, a lot of layering in the back specifically, and I do like how it opens up in the front, just to show off her legs, because they do look rather pretty and very slender. But outside of that, we also had this figure, gotta go to Ami for this one, a new Madoka figure, the 10th anniversary version, for 45,000 yen. Now that's extremely expensive. I wish this was like 35,000 yen instead, but it's certainly a bit ambitious with its sculpt. There's a lot of photo frames and like a huge mirror behind her. I think it's a mirror because in one of these photos, you could actually see the reflection of the figure, but you can also take it out, apparently, unless they're just showing this photo so that you can see what the back of the figure looks like. It might even have, like, swappable pieces, like this is the night sky. And in fact, that's probably my favorite setup for this figure, but I'm not sure exactly how this one works. But I do like the idea. I think the composition is very interesting and very different from other Madoka figures. And the closer you look at it, you know, there's a lot of these like ornate patterns along the edges and just like the frames and all of that. Madoka's hair looks really nicely shaded. Her dress, as you would expect, extremely poofy, a ton of layering down there. And you got that son of a bitch Kyubey in the back, because why not? Let's include him as well. Over to Kotobukiya, they had a bunch of stuff like a Data Bullet light novel Kurumi Tokisaki cat ears version, which we've seen for a while now. Not too expensive at about 22,000 yen. She's a 1/7 scale, which feels appropriate. I'm not sure if they state this anywhere, but I'm just going to make the argument that this is like a lingerie figure because of the outfit, the corset that's nice and shiny. She's got that little skirt that is made with like translucent plastic. So yeah, slightly suggestive, sexy cat outfit Kurumi. What more could you ask for? Also from Kotobukiya was a new Albedo figure, the 10th anniversary Sobin version. Now, I don't collect her figures. I really like this one, mostly because of her face. Something about her face looks prettier than usual, and usually she's pretty, but maybe it's like the eyeliner, maybe it's the eyelashes, maybe it's the fact that she's looking off to the side. I'm not really sure. It's also the lips. She has really nice lips, a bit of lip gloss, just some extra paint over there. Whatever the case may be, they clearly put a nice amount of effort into her face, and I think it's showing. I also like that she's holding onto a scepter, which is not something she's typically holding on to. Got these very big wings. The wingspan is quite wide on this figure. Unfortunately, they do need to be supported in the front. I wish they found a way to attach them to the steps, but they just spread out a little bit too much, unfortunately, so they can't really do that. But those steps do look neat. They're cracked and like broken up a little bit, kinda look like crystal. Feel like it was a bit of a missed opportunity to not have like some type of color mixed into that, like a blue or a green, just so it's not like one basic white. But it's not like it looks bad or anything. I just think it looks okay. What does look good though are the wings and the shading of the dress, like having these little feather details and just like the lighter blues and the darker blues, and the creases in the dress specifically like from the hips down, I think looks really nice. You could even tell that she's actually walking down the steps because of her knee poking out here. So yeah, 25,000 yen for what I believe is a 1/7 scale. Oh, actually 1/8. It's a little small. I mean, there is a lot going on here, but I wish that was 1/7. I feel like that could be a deal breaker for some people, but I do think it's a very pretty one. Their next figure, though, was the Ronin from the False Lander series for 24,200 yen. As far as the Ronin goes, I think she looks sick. It's a great character design. Unfortunately, this line of figures just feels like missed potential because all of the girls are so static, just standing there. There's no dynamism at all to these characters, which just, I don't know, feels like a bit of a bummer. There's pretty much two aspects to her outfit, right? You have that skin-tight black suit that really hugs her body. You can see her belly. You can see the shape of her chest, right? Doesn't really hide that much in that aspect, but she is wearing gauntlets, which I think look cool. You could also take off her hat if you don't like it, just so you can get a better look at her face. Honestly, I'm not sure what look I like more, because I do think she's got a cute face, but that might go against like the tone of the figure. So that's up to you, of course. And then there's her kimono, which she kind of has like halfway off, just kind of like tied up around her waist. Very purple. You got this cushion, like plush material on the inside, a very vibrant purple sash with a really nice pattern on it. And another gold pattern can be found on like the fronts of the kimono. All of this mixed together just makes for a really striking outfit. Maybe a little bit too vibrant for like the vibe of this figure, but I still like it. I think it's very effective. I think that golden rope also looks cool. Her sheath has like a metallic paint job to it too, for whatever reason. And her sword is huge. So yeah, badass weapon girl. Always gonna make for a cool figure. Also, from Kotobukiya was this figure that we saw at Smile Fest. I feel like we're going to be saying that a lot today. Was another Chisato figure, this time the Haregi version. So this one's very expensive at 27,000 yen. Kind of caught off guard by that. I really do like the design on this kimono. It's a very lush floral pattern, and the shifting colors from like a white to a really warm orange is just appealing to me, you know? Really like the golden ribbon in the back or the bow tie, and the charm in the front. Her face is super cute here too, but man, that is an expensive figure, and I think that's gonna keep people away. But don't let that stop this one from being appealing. Also, from this company, I think it's the last ones we have, are the two Konosuba 10th anniversary light novel versions, one for Aqua and one for Darkness. Now, they're very cheap. Darkness is 12,000 and Aqua is 9,000. And the reason for that is because they're 1/10 scales, which is kind of a bummer, but only if you're really into like the bigger stuff, right? Because if you like smaller figures or more affordable stuff, then this is good. So it's really just like a matter of perspective, right? I don't want to hate on something that people might be excited for just because I wanted something a bit more expensive and bigger. You know what I mean? But yeah, this Aqua figure kind of slaps in terms of the outfit. It's like an Arabian belly dancer. Very creative, and I think the colors are like perfect. Just really nice shades of blue here mixed in with the gold jewelry and the bangles and all of that. And then there is Darkness, who I guess I'm not like as wowed by. It's still a very pretty dress, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't really feel as unique. But, you know, I guess it's just not for me. It's really not a bad figure or anything. We have Enso toy figures, two of them in fact. The second one's kind of interesting. But first up is a Black Rock Shooter fragment figure for Alishka for 41,000 yen. Premium priced, and I don't feel confident in this one because I haven't really seen a lot of great stuff from this company yet. It's a cool idea, looks slightly awkward because of the way Black Rock Shooter's head is tilted, very horizontally, but because of that, you're getting her hair trailing all the way up along with the flame in her eye, and her outfit, of course, because she's like jumping down, right, while she's holding onto the cannon. As you can see, though, the cannon does need to be supported by an acrylic rod, which I get it, but it's really high up there, so there's no like avoiding that. You'd pretty much need to stick an entire figure in front of this one just to like hide that that's there. But you know what? That's not even a bad idea. Conceptually, I think this figure looks pretty cool. It's got a nice level of dynamism to it. The flow is outstanding. I'm just not really impressed with Black Rock Shooter herself or Alishka. She just looks kind of bland. I don't know, just like she's there. It's not really like an impressive sculpt for her. The clothing looks okay despite the fact that it is flowing upward, but I think she is in much better hands when it comes to like Good Smile Company or Max Factory, and we do have like 2 or 3 more figures of her on the way, so I'm just gonna wait it out. Also, apparently this does have a light up feature, though it's only in the canon, which feels like you're not gonna see that super often, so I don't know. At least the base looks pretty cool, right? The metal beams and the building, clearly there's been a battle here, just destroyed at this point. But it still makes for a cool set piece, right? The other figure from Enso Toys was this one right here, Totsuki Coco, for 17,500 yen. Now, there's actually 2 versions on this website, one that's a little bit more innocent. You got this cute little rabbit down here, very curious about the cake, and there's like a little bit of concern on her face. She's maybe a little bit worried here. But then you also have the special edition where things get a little bit more naughty, a little bit more spicy. The rabbit is now just pulling on the strings, and she's making a much more suggestive face. But not only that, also the outfit slightly changed too. But not only that, but a completely different company is making a figure of this sculpt. Like, it's the exact same sculpt. I can't really show it. It's made by a company called Pink Rouge or Rogue, and it's just a cast off. So like, you could take off the top and the bottom, and bada bing, bada boom, you got a plus 18 figure. I feel like I don't see that super often, like 2 companies tackling the same character and the same sculpt, but one of them is just making it plus 18 instead. Very curious, but yeah, you'll have to look up that one yourself. I just thought that scenario was kind of interesting. Next up, the Maid Mason Ai Iwaya, illustration by 92M for 25,850 yen. Pretty simple cat-made figure. Really comes down to like the art style. I actually do like this one because of her face, specifically her eyes. They have like a red and blue mix, and I think it's very pretty. There's a bit of fan service here because her tail is lifting the back of the maid outfit, showing off a rather generous amount of her butt. And yeah, I guess she's got some crazy underboob too, which I've only just realized. Also, her nails are painted in like a light blue or maybe a light purple. Can't tell. I am colorblind, but not actually. I'm just stupid. Yeah, this one's made by DMM Factory, who is fairly new to the game. So not exactly sure how this one's going to turn out, but I do like it. From S-Fire, we have their one figure this month. It was Kaiju number 8, which we just saw a week ago. I like this one. The way they're just like painting this guy, that blue paint, as if the light from the lightning bolts are actually bouncing off of his body, like that's pretty impressive. That, in my opinion, makes this the best Kaiju number 8 figure so far. His face looks like it's made of stone, and his teeth are super sharp, and his pupils, they're so tiny, but that just makes him look even more pissed off. But it really is that blue paint that just continues to impress me, just like the way it's lit on his chest. It looks like there's a lighting gimmick on this figure, but I'm pretty sure there's not. Also, while the base isn't really creative, I do like the commitment to really making the concrete and the rocks look as smashed as possible. It's a cool figure. Absolutely, I like this one. Next up, I guess let's talk about Good Smile Company next. They had a bunch of figures, so let's run through them. Yui, ceremonial version. We just saw this one as well. I was a little harsh on it for no reason. It's really just the base that I don't like, because I feel like they should have hid that a little bit more. Like maybe some stars down there, some wind, or something that's like accurate to the character's abilities. I'm sure she has something, because she's literally floating here like a goddess, as she's so caringly is like looking after this elemental fella in her hands, but you just have that like goofy rod sticking in the back. But yeah, you know, I'm not super impressed with the outfit for her. It's just mostly white, but it is a very clean white, and it's got a ton of gold on it, just the pattern throughout the entire thing on the bottom and the top. And her hair looks great. Love the design of her hair, the hoops, and the shade of pink is very appealing. Same goes for her face. She has a very pretty face, very vibrant blue eyes. And the expression, just the vibe of this figure, she really does feel so sincere and caring, and I really do like that. So yeah, I don't know. I guess at first glance I wasn't super impressed by this one, and I guess I'm still not wowed by it, but it's pretty, and it's definitely effective. So if you're a fan of her, I say go for it. We have Gojo and Geto, both of them costing 6,500 each, which was a little bit cheaper than I was expecting. I thought they'd be like 18,000 yen, just because they're like dudes and they're pretty tall, but they kept it rather affordable. There's actually a set of them. I don't know if you get a special box, but if you buy them both at the same time through this method, you actually save 10%, which, I mean, why not if you're getting both of these guys? At the event, I was a little critical on Geto because you really couldn't see his face. I think I put a little text on the screen saying it looked good, but just want to clarify that now. I think his face looks perfect, especially for like this part of the story when they're in high school. Looks extremely accurate, and that goes for Gojo as well. Gojo figures can definitely look a little bit iffy, but I don't feel the same way here. I think they definitely nailed it. Really like the attempt to make his eyes look as sparkly as possible, and the eyelashes. And I like the plastic they used for his glasses, that like translucent blue. It's a really nice color. Most of the time when you think of JJK figures, they're super dynamic, they're showing their abilities, they're very like bombastic and all over the place, and that's usually a good thing. That's usually what people want, but maybe you want something a bit more quieter. You just want the boys hanging out, and I think these are very effective for that reason. Plus, despite the simplicity, there's like a ton of wrinkles throughout both of their outfits, and the shading looks perfect, despite how it's really just like one dark blue. They made sure to make him look as good as possible. Really like Geto's puffy pants too. I think I like his figure a bit more, but not a competition. You should probably get both if you're interested in either of these two guys. We also have Oguri Cap, Ashen Miracle for 28,600. Another one that we saw at Smile Fest. Extremely expensive, a premium figure, but there's a good reason for that, right? Her outfit, her design is just packed to the brim with little details and accessories and jewelry and like that hair clip. It's just like so much. There's so much like gold and just pretty elements. There's like a ton of layering to her dress and they're differently designed too. Her boots look outstanding. The golden studs, the shading on her leggings, like that color of brown makes it look like she's actually a horse. It's just, I don't know, it's super good. Her hair is just so dynamic, flowing so much. The curls, her tail is doing a similar thing. The like sculpted in strands. I think it's a lovely figure. Her face looks super good too, so determined. And just really into the race. I love her base too. Kind of wish it wasn't like signed at the bottom or having her like name down there. Feel like it takes away from that beautiful night sky that they went for. But I think it's subtle enough where it's not too big of a deal. And most of the Uma Musume girls do have their name somewhere on the base. That's kind of like a standard for them outside of the Max Factory figures for whatever reason. But speaking of very beautiful figures, this one, wow. This is probably, and I'm not just saying this to say it, I think this is one of the prettiest figures of Miku I've ever seen. So this is the Hatsune Miku Yoneyama Mai version. Yoneyama Mai is the artist, I believe, that designed this Miku. You could tell it's not designed by the typical, I guess, in-house Good Smile Company team because she looks completely different. Like all you gotta do is look at her face. Those aren't the eyes that Good Smile Company ever goes for. Even her lips look a little different. But yeah, this is like the goddess Miku. I'm not exactly sure what's behind her. Almost looks like a gate of some kind or like a humongous halo, but it's painted in this really nice gold. I like how it goes all the way down and kind of curls about here. It's kind of just fun to follow with your eyes to kind of see how it all connects. But yeah, the best part of this figure is that her hair is designed to look like wings. Specifically, the strands of hair closer to her body. I think these are very obviously supposed to look like wings, but you can make the same argument for the strands of hair on like the outer portion of the figure. Either way, it's like the perfect color, and it's just such a miraculous sculpt. Her dress is also like super thin, like very delicate looking, and I think they're trying to emphasize that with the way she's like gently lifting it up with one finger. But yeah, it's highlighting the silhouette of her hips. You can see the belly button. It's wrapping around her leg, which looks extremely good. And like all around her are these like lush yet white flowers just kind of like spiraling. We need another photo to really get a better sense of that. But there is a lot going on with this space. It's almost like water and wind mixing, but also creating some life. It's kind of stunning. It's kind of immaculate. It's just an absolutely beautiful piece. And I think this is one that a lot of people are going to go for. I don't want to use the word bandwagon because it's Hatsune Miku, right? Like everybody likes Miku figures. But it does feel like one of those that a ton of people are going to get because they're going to feel like they're missing out on. I'm feeling like that because I just pre-ordered the Racing Miku, the one made by Tori Domino, where she's holding onto the trophy. Really like that one, but they're the exact same price. That one was a 1/6 scale. This is a 1/7 instead, so it's a bit bigger. But I'm feeling like I might have made the wrong choice, even though I still adore that one, because I don't want to buy too many Miku figures. But this Miku just feels so otherworldly, like I don't know how else to describe it. It's like unobtainable. Also, I'm just realizing the 01 back there. That's a fun little detail. But yeah, I'm kind of stunned, you know? I just think she's gorgeous. Really like her legs too, like all of this gold, her sandals, the fact they painted her nails. It's just, I don't know, it's amazing. Even the pose too. It's the best. Probably the best figure this month, if I had to label one of them. Well, we're not done yet. We also have Mao Mao for 13,800 yen. Extremely cheap. Probably the cheapest figure I've seen from Good Smile Company outside of pop-up parades. I was told last week that the freckles are painted on, which broke my heart. Like, yeah, I would have found that out eventually, but the fact that she just like paints them on so that she looks more like a peasant is both parts funny and also a bit disappointing. But that has nothing to do with this figure. For something so affordable, it's surprising how nice the sculpt is. I think the big highlight here is her dress and how it drapes all over the bench. I also really like her expression and her pose. It feels like she's lost in thought. She's really thinking something over. She's kind of concerned about it. She's clenching her feet, and it feels perfect, you know? For what this is, it feels perfect. She's ripping off some of the leaves from the flower, starting to fall down onto her dress. Really nice colors, and hey, those freckles, they may be painted on, but she still looks cute, so I'm not going to take that away from the character or the figure. One day, I'll finally get off my ass, watch this show, and then I'll probably want this. Oh, and before I forget, there is also a re-release of Saber on her bike for 19,000 yen. Originally, this one came out in 2012, which is 12 years ago, which, holy shit, that's a long time. But this one still holds up. There's so many people who own this figure, so you're not going to have a hard time figuring out if this one is for you or not. I would recommend it, especially these days. I think Saber in a suit looks awesome, and like this price for a bike on a scale figure, you're not getting that these days anymore. We also have some Shanghai figures, just 2 of them. We have the Rika Takarada Blue Sky Station figure that we did see at Smile Fest. She's going to cost 16,200 yen, which is a perfect price, very, very affordable. I think she looks lovely, slightly fan servicey as her butt is poking out from the skirts, and the way she's like leaning against the railing here is just like pushing it out a little bit. Some of the photos at the event makes this figure look Nopon, but we're not going to go there for this video. Really, outside of that though, I think the big highlight is just this like fashion that she's wearing. I really like this red jacket, the nice gloss that it has. She's wearing it kind of like Kurisu, not really on her shoulders, but I do like the look. I think her hair looks fantastic. The color of blue that they chose, the shading looks great. Has a nice like little sheen to it. Face is very pretty. Earrings are great. She's got her nails painted. And there's a little bird. Just curious about Rika, I suppose. He's got a story to tell, but I can appreciate his inclusion. We also had this one, the Rappy Classic Vacation version from Nikkei. This one's a stunner because holy moly, those thighs are intense. And because we have the gallery, we do get a look at her butt, which is as big as you would imagine considering the size of those thighs. Her eyes, though, are extremely pretty. Her eyelashes, oh my god. Also a little bit of eyeliner from what I can tell. Just a lovely face sculpt. And her hair is so flowing and voluminous. It really does remind me of like, you know, that splash art from a gacha game. I guess when you like open your phone and the characters are just moving about, they gotta make them so animated, and that's definitely captured here. But yeah, I mean, like, what else is there to really say? It looks like she's kind of oiled up slightly, suntan lotion or whatever she's choosing, just to make her legs look a little shiny, a little bit more appealing, right? And it's definitely effective. Her swimsuit, just a one piece, yet still sexy, highlighting her curves, as you would imagine. Very simple figure at 16,800 yen. That's a perfect price. This is gonna sell super well, so hopefully they deliver on it. I think Shanghai's scale figures usually do, though, so I think you're in safe hands. The last figures we need to talk about on Good Small Company's page are actually from FAT. They had 4 figures, so let's get into it. First up is a quick re-release of Anne Takamaki from the Persona 5 dancing game. Always been a great figure, very stylish, and at 20,000 yen, I think that's a perfect price. Probably a slight increase from what it used to be, though, but these days, I think this is fair, especially if you're from the US, but I can't speak for other regions. We also have DP12 Morning Fable Heavy Damage version for 25,600 yen. Very voluptuous character here. The damage is really just found in the swimsuit. As you can see, it's ripped in the back, giving you some intense underboob if you choose to look at her from there. And you might, because she's also got a rather nice tush. Her hair is translucent. I really like this color, so I'm not going to hate on it too much. But yeah, you know, not the biggest fan of the execution here. The sunflower on her hat is probably the best painted part of this figure. It just looks extremely good, and I'm surprised they put that much detail into the flower. Before I move on, I want to circle back to the hair sculpt. I really like how she's lifting the hair with her arm. Just looks really pretty that way, how it's draping over just a little bit so that she could see you better. I think that's pretty. This is a fan servicey pose, of course. There's a lot of hanging elements on this one, and her swimsuit is certainly pretty tiny. So no matter what angle you go for here, you're certainly getting a bit of a treat. But, you know, she's not really coming with a base, just some, like, extra things, like these little robot fellas who are cute, and her shotgun that is leaning against her. Though you don't have to have it leaning, you could just put it off to the side. So you don't even need to include that. If you do buy this figure, you could just leave it in the box if you want to. But why do that? If you're paying for it, why not display the figure with it? Yeah, she's pretty. Very voluptuous, very sexy, and I don't think that price is too bad. Definitely have seen worse, considering she is a 1/6 scale as well. Though, at the end of the day, it is a swimsuit figure, so I'm cutting it a little bit of slack just because it's kind of sexy. Next up is Hoshino swimsuit from Blue Archive. This one's 28,000 yen, rather 29,000 if you round up, which, I mean, that's kind of ridiculous. There is a lot here, like the inflatable whale, which is extremely cute. Her gun is in the baggie, which is just funny. I like that this series does that. You got a glossy beach ball, the bucket, the shovel, the starfish, a little sand sculpture with the flag on top as if she was playing in the sand earlier, and a little wave. Nothing super impressive down here outside of the gun, but it's all nice looking. Definitely nothing to complain about. I'm glad it's here on the figure, but yeah, I don't know. Because she's so small, I feel like this should have been a little bit less. It's still a cute one, though. Her hair looks great. They're not going as crazy with the translucencies here, so there's a lot of matte pink before you get to the translucency tips, and that's kind of like the way I'd rather them do it instead of the entire thing. Also comes with a flustered, freaking out face, which is cute as well. Not sure which one's better, but, you know, it's still a cute swimsuit figure. There's a lot going on, which is better than just, like, you know, it's sand and a wave. At least they tried, but I feel like, yeah, just a little bit too much. But if you want to see a figure that costs way too much money, in my opinion, let's look no further than Bridget from Guilty Gear. This is a 1/6 scale, so it is a bit bigger than the other Bridget figures so far, but 37,000 yen is like, you know, this better be a perfect figure. And to give him credit, it's a very fun pose. My favorite part is probably the yo-yo, just spinning around her, creating this really cool red smearing effect with the stars twinkling throughout it. It's got a really nice flow because of that, and even some dust clouds and the stars down here, which are so similar to the Spirit Tales figure. The colors on this figure are pretty accurate. They didn't oversaturate her, make her colors too bright. Maybe like a hint lower, like a little bit darker for the blue, and it would have been perfect. But I do like this shade. The blonde hair looks pretty similar to Spirit Tales as well, which was kind of my complaint on that one because it didn't really have any like shading or gradation. So I'm kind of saying her hair looks basic, but it's a nice shade, right? So it still looks good. Face is very cute. I like that Roger is riding on Bridget, just kind of like playing along. The peace sign is great. It's got a lot of nice energy, very playful, very in the spirit of the character. Oh, actually, I just noticed you could actually take off her hood. That's a nice bonus because most of the figures of her don't allow you to do that. But yeah, we'll see how this one does in the future. For now, let's move on to the next company. Okay, so Freeing is up next. They should be pretty quick today. We have 2 figures from To Love Ru Darkness, one for Yami and one for Momo. So these are swimsuit versions with gym clothes included. Basically, they are fabric clothing, just little shirts and shorts that you can take on or off or even like halfway to make it look like they're changing their clothes, which is honestly a cool idea. Very suggestive when you leave it like this, but I'm not really in love with how the clothes particularly look. They look okay. They get the job done. And the swimsuits are really, really simple. They are kind of digging into the skin of the two. So they're very tight, but you know, simple stuff regardless. A cool idea. Executed decently. Don't like Yami's face. I think Momo looks pretty good though. Like Momo, no complaints. Yami looks a little soulless, but I'm more picky about Yami because that's the one I like. Next up from Dolphin Wave, we have 2 figures, one for Kurose Minami and one for Izumi Kiriri. So these are actually 1/6 scales. I did not recognize this at Smile Fest. I don't know if we could see the plaque at the event. But yeah, these are technically, or I guess not even technically, these are the first 1/6 scales that are available from Freeing for 22,000 yen, which is a respectable price, absolutely. The only real question is, when it comes to a character like Taiga, who is, you know, confirmed to be getting a 1/6 scale, what's her price gonna be? because if this were to be a 1/4 scale, like this, figure an example, and it was, say, like 36 or 38,000 yen, then that's a pretty drastic decrease in price, which would make this much more, attractive in terms of picking it up. But Taiga, she was like 27, 28,000 yen in the 1/4 scale. So if they were to make her 1/6 scale, 22,000 yen, I don't think that would be that exciting, you know what I mean? I do think the 1/6 scale thing is a good idea. The only reason I was kind of hating on it last time is because Taiga's figure has been just, produced over and over and over again. They're like beating a dead horse. They have milked this character dry, and I am tired of seeing it. They should have done, like, recolors if they were going to do 1/6 scales for Taiga, but they're not. They're the same figures. These two look good. I don't think they have 1/4 scales, though. So this is really all you're getting, and I think that's okay. I think they look, pretty simple, all things considered. Very standard, bunny suits, some nice colors. On Kiridi over here, I like the pink ties and the way they did the leggings, just not with the fishnets, but just traditional, like, black with some nice shading on it. But yeah, outside of that, we also had Bremerton. I really like this outfit, the deep red, very like, it's like almost like a dominatrix thing, this outfit with the corset and the garter belts, but I don't think it's supposed to be that. But I do really like how it looks on her. We get a nice 360 of this figure. She's holding on to some drinks. I accidentally changed the page, so I have to go back now. Honestly, the expression, maybe I would have wanted something a little bit more lively, but I do think she still looks very pretty. The hair seems really nicely done, honestly better than the, was it Alpha Max? The one where she's in the cowboy suit, or cowboy outfit. It's like barely anything, it's a bikini. And we also get a teaser for Taiho. I thought she was gonna go up for pre-order sooner, but she is not up for pre-order yet, so probably in July. Only now just realizing that they swapped the gloves, because she's got the red ones, she's got the black ones. But yeah, from the colors to the design and this like glossy finish on the suit, kind of lovely, really like it. That's actually it though for freeing, so let's jump over to Kotobukiya. They actually had like 8, 7 figures, something like that. Starting off with 2 re-releases, one for Kurisu Makase, which is only 14,300 yen. Saw this one at a buddy's house, and I did like it. Actually sold it for him when he moved, because he just could not carry all of his stuff. But then we also had Eris from, whoops, sorry about that, Mushoku Tensei for 17,600 yen. Very vibrant colors, very nice, simple figure of Eris, which I do like, Not many companies are making just like the standard outfit that she wears with her sword and whatnot. And yeah, I can dig it. I really think that one is nice. Next up, we have Mina from Kaiju number 8. This one I briefly talked about at Smile Fest. She has a massive, massive gun. More like a cannon. I should call it a cannon. It does need to be supported, but I mean, look at the size of this thing. I think it's forgivable that they're doing it this way. The only other way they could have done it is if they had some like rock pillar attaching to the cannon, the railgun, which honestly might have been a better idea. Her bonus faceplate this time, let's see, is her without the mask, which I think is a good get if you do like this character and you do, you're considering picking this one up. Next up, Yu Yu Hakusho. 2 figures from this series went up for pre-order this month, which means I think the next 2 are coming out in July. So we have Yusuke Urameshi for 24,200 and Kuwabara for 26,400. Pretty pricey, but yeah, both of them are much more dynamic than their old, really old Kotobukiya figures. They actually are, displaying their skills. Kuwabara's got the spirit sword. Urameshi, Yusuke, he's got the spirit gun, of course. Some energy sparks and just like wind effects under both of them. But yeah, all these sparks of electricity running throughout Kuwabara look pretty damn good. I just love this color. They're not going for the blue, they're just sticking with the yellow, a little bit of orange in the spirit sword, right? Really looks like he's about to swing the thing. And as for a bonus faceplate, he is shouting instead of just like gritting his teeth. They both kind of get the job done in terms of like what the character is expressing, but I do think this looks slightly better. Yusuke, on the other hand, with his bonus expression, I feel like this one is a must-get. His hair is down and he is shouting. Just looks so much better, so much more expressive. Honestly, I feel like Kuwabara and Hiei were the real winners in these version 2s, but if you get this expression, this headpiece, then I think you're making this Yusuke figure a lot better. Honestly, this line is super cool. It's been a long time coming to finally get some updated Yu Yu Hakusho figures, and Kotobukiya are doing a bang-up job. These look awesome. One more thing though, gotta point it out, I'm not the biggest fan of how the spirit gun looks. The orb specifically really does look like there's two half circles kind of glued together with the way there's like the line running down the middle. I wish they could patch that up a little bit somehow when they finally get this guy ready to ship out to people, but besides that, it's pretty cool. I think the wind does also look great as well. Some like purples and grays mixed into the blue, but that's my one little nitpick for him. Next up, we have Nina from Girls Band Cry. I like this show a lot. It's one of the only like 2 I watched last season. I highly recommend it. You kind of have to go out of your way to watch it. I don't think anybody picked it up. It's being subbed by fans, and some of the translations aren't great. It's been a little rough sometimes. I remember in the first episode, someone said it's Jover, which was funny, but I guarantee they didn't say that. Either way, we have Nina for 25,900 yen. That is so expensive for this figure. She is not a tall character, but to give them a little bit of credit, they are making her jacket look like actual denim, which is dope. And there's a lot of like stickers and tape and patches all over her. There's some decals on her legs. It's a pretty involved and detailed outfit for sure. I do like what they're going for here. I do like the sculpt of her singing her heart out as she does. Her bonus faceplate though is kinda meh. I'm gonna just skip down here to go to it. She's just happy. I feel like it's average. It's an average faceplate. I would skip this so easily to save money though, if you were interested in picking up this figure, because the other one just works so much better with the figure. But yeah, you can see she is so short. She is like kneeling a little bit because of her stance, but like the other girls are so much taller than her. I am interested to see how Momoka turns out, but if these are the prices for all of the girls, I might be a little hesitant and see how they do on the aftermarket. I was just a little too shocked by that price point. But not only is she around 26,000 yen, at all, Christian from Yee's 8 is 27,000 yen, which was another one that kind of shocked me. This one was on my wish list. I have seen him go for as low as like 21,000 yen. I don't remember what store that was, but yeah, he's a pretty pricey guy. Now he is, you know, very, very detailed. His outfit has all the bells and whistles on it, a bunch of feathers. I'm not even sure what that like blue tail, I'm gonna call it, specifically is. It makes for a cool like trailing effect in the game and whatnot, but what that actually is supposed to be, I don't know. His hair looks nice. It's a really vibrant red, doesn't really seem to have shading on it. In fact, it might be using some like translucencies for the tips. But yeah, if you're somebody who's gonna gloss over the details of like a character's outfit, then this figure is just gonna seem like a huge rip-off. You really have to get into it. You gotta look at like his shoulders, his sleeves, his collar. There's like a lot of layering, a lot of different patterns running throughout this guy. There's so many colors on this figure too. It's kind of nuts. Pouches, belt, his sword, his sheath, of course. His bonus faceplate is him just smiling, which does look good. I feel like I can miss out on this one though, but I do think it works with the pose fine enough. The angrier expression definitely fits more, but the smile ain't bad. I really do wish they just copied the cover art, or like the main art, where the two main characters have their like backs against each other. That would be so beautiful as like a 2-pair, but they're not doing that. Instead, we're getting this, which still looks good, but it's not really a special. It's not really a standout. It just fits in line with like every other anime figure in my opinion, which does feel like a missed opportunity to make something really, really unique. But that's just me being, you know, overly nitpicky just because I like the game and I really like the art. But yeah, probably gonna get this one. Just wish it was a little cheaper. And then we had Manhattan Cafe from Uma Musume. Cute girl wearing her racing outfits. Something about this shocked expression just gets me. I think she looks adorable. How her hair is covering most of her face, but not completely. You can see both of her eyes if you look close enough. I do like her leggings a lot. I like the colors of this figure. Very dark, just like a really dark but nice color of blue. Her base is strange though. It looks very rough, like the rim. I don't know if that's intentional. I guess it has to be, but it's not really appealing the way it's sculpted. And then like a lot of the other girls, there's a bunch of gold trim and patterns throughout the outfit. And then for whatever reason, her hair antenna is turning white, or I guess it just is white at this point. Not sure what that's about, but I do dig it. Her bonus expression is a sincere smile, very endearing. Honestly, I like this one a lot. But yeah, good job from them. Just really don't like the base. Everything else is definitely good. That's going to wrap it up, though, I believe, for Kotobukiya. So let's move on to the next section. All right, time to talk about Megahouse. And what I've learned over the past month is that this website sucks. They don't put anything in order, and it's just like up to me to figure out what I haven't talked about yet and what I want to. So you can see an overview of what they're putting up, but we're going to focus on 5 or 6 figures today, starting off with Rangiku Matsumoto from the Thousand Year Blood War tipsy version. She is drinking, getting a little drunk, for 24,200 yen. Bleach figures from them haven't been the best, and I'm not going to say this is like a stunner, but I do like it enough. You know, it's a very fan servicey type of figure, but her character design just is fan servicey, so I don't know how you make a Rangiku figure that isn't. I will say her mouth looks a little strange from this angle, but definitely better from others. So yeah, I mean, there's really not that much to say about this one. Just drinking a ton of sake. And you get a little like stool alongside that. Is 24,000 yen too much? Probably, but you know, I don't make the prices, and we certainly don't get a lot of Bleach figures, so you're at the mercy of Megahouse on this one. We have Lelouch, the 15th anniversary version. In fact, there's a ton of figures of this guy, but we have a new one, once again, for 24,200 yen, approximately 234 millimeters, so he does not seem that big, which is, you know, weird, because he's a very lanky guy. I feel like they should have made him slightly taller, but Megahouse does lean on the smaller side, and speaking of leaning, this guy will probably fall down one day, considering the pose, unless he is very light. I do feel like this pose fits him perfectly, but I am a little worried because he's only pegged in with 1 foot. Otherwise, I mean, this looks like Lelouch. I really like the colors, especially on the inside of the cape, and like that gold trim, a lot of black. It looks really nice. The contrast is great. Not too much shading applied to like the pants or anything like that. Seems to be some gloss on the shoes. Can't say for sure how this ranks against his other figures. I don't own any of them personally and haven't seen any of them in person, but this seems faithful enough. I feel like if you pick this up, you wouldn't probably regret it, except for the fact that it's kind of overpriced. But like, again, what isn't these days from them? You know what? This one isn't. Surprisingly, Char on the horse, 36,300 yen. Approximately 380 millimeters in height. There is one problem with this horse that I did notice going through the gallery, and it's not the steel beam sticking through the horse. That's understandable, even if it's not like the best looking thing. It's the gross seam line on one of his legs in the back. I mean, thankfully it is on the back of the horse, so you're really not going to see it that often, but if you know, you know, and it's going to bother you guaranteed. So it's a bit of a shame. I don't love that, but the horse looks great. Very veiny and muscular horse. Even the shading on like his tail and his mane looks super good. Honestly, the paint on the entire figure, Char included, looks fantastic. Probably better than the last 2 that we saw for sure. Most definitely because of the red paint here. Like, the shading is just exquisite, gradating almost into like maybe even just straight up black by the pants and the creases over here. The horse is so wrinkly, the eye is so realistic looking, the leather is like really nicely like textured too. I think it's impressive, like really, really impressive. Outside of that one seam line, this seems like a pretty reasonable deal. 36,000 yen for all of this. Char just looking as majestic as possible. What's not to love? From My Hero Academia, we have a new Deku figure for 23,100 yen, which seems like a pretty good price. I really do like his hair, like the coloring, the shading, and the gradation. The texturing on his suit looks pretty nice as well. And the effects of his attack, not sure exactly which one he's doing, but I do like the darker blues and blacks that are applied to it. I think it looks pretty nice. The weathering on his boots specifically, the damage on his suit. The more you look at it, the more impressive it gets, for sure. And last up, from the Portraits of Pirates, One Piece Wa Maximum Beast Pirates All-Star King, the Conflagration for 36,300 yen. His wings look dope. Like, wow, those are huge, and the flames look awesome as well, igniting on his shoulders. They look almost dirty, though, like the way they're painted. Not to say that's like a bad thing or anything, but they don't look like pristine. It's an interesting paint job for sure. His sword is also ignited, which, once again, the flames on this figure look really nice. They did not cheap out on the flame effects at all. Just really nice mixes of oranges, yellows, and reds to make like a really convincing and rather nice looking flame effect. Also, I guess you could have a broken sword without the flame if you would like to. Probably story significant if I had to guess. Don't fill me in, I'll watch eventually, but I'm like 300 episodes behind and I cannot find the time for it. The One Piece figures from Megahouse always get like the best treatment. This is no different. I think he looks sick. But yeah, that's gonna do it for Megahouse. So let's talk about Union Creative next. They had so many figures this month, like 8 or something like that, and 2 of them were really impressive to me. One of them being this figure, Guilty Gear Strive, the Buyee complete figure for 25,600 yen. Now, I'm not sure what scale this figure is. It doesn't say down here, just states that it's 230 millimeters, which isn't that tall, but she's also kind of crouched down a little bit because of her stance. This pose is based off of her key arts from Strive, so it might look familiar to you, but I'm gonna guess more of like a 1/8 scale rather than 1/7, which is a bit of a bummer because most of the other figures from Guilty Gear are 1/7 scale. But man, this looks really good. It doesn't look like it's made from Union Creative. Specifically the shading and just like overall paint of her hair. And that like sash, that rope around her waist, that pink, why does that look so good? As you could see, she's very busty, very large chest, and it seems like they sculpted her boobs really nicely too. Didn't go the lazy route with a weld going down the chest, which sometimes companies do. Less of a problem these days, but considering Union Creative isn't the best company, I would expect that from them. Yet they completely avoided that, at least as far as this prototype goes. Unfortunately, as you can see, her hair is being lifted up by the pole in the back. Not the biggest deal, but considering both of her feet are planted into the ground, it's kind of odd that we need that at all. But I guess they're just not confident that that won't like sag over time. It won't like make the figure lean backwards or something. The only thing I'm not really confident about is her face. Like her eyes look okay, but her mouth looks a little strange. She's making that like kind of scowl or something, but I don't know if they're going to pull it off. There's not like a real good zoom in on her face, but she does have that like fierce energy that you would expect Buyee to have. So yeah, I'm liking this one more than I'm not. I would give this like a very solid, like at least 8 out of 10. I think this one looks very promising. The other figure, which has like no flaws in my opinion, this one looks insanely good, is the new Yumeko figure from Kakegururi, 1/6 scale for 24,500 yen. I don't know where this one came from. Why does this look so good? Why does this look like her definitive figure? It looks better than the Koto one, it looks way better than the Freeing one, and I'm not sure if she has other figures because I can't remember them right now, but this one just captures that like crazy energy. Like, my god, does her expression look so good. She's so into the game, into the gambling, that she is aroused by it, hand down the legs, as you can see. The blush looks amazing, the way her eyes are squinted a little bit. The lips, they made sure to define those, sculpt them really nicely. The paint overall, the pattern of the skirt. No details really missed, but I'm just scared. I'm just scared they mess it up, because they got such a nice prototype right now. Easily one of the best of the month, just in terms of getting like the likeness down, the personality down, the spirit of the show down. How'd they do it? I don't know how they did it, but I gotta give them their props. They did a stellar job here, and I'm done glazing this one. So let's move on to Monster Hunter Rise. We have the 2 maidens of all things, Minato and Hinoa, which, complete surprise, I don't think we really ever get like the characters from Monster Hunter. So that's awesome. 17,000 yen each, or 17,600. Very simple figures. I don't think these are like as noteworthy as the last 2, just in terms of like sculpt and paint, but it's just a matter of like getting characters you would never expect to see as a figure. Anytime like a video game character that you would not expect to see gets some merchandise, I'm down for it. I'm a sucker for Shrine Maidens. I like the color palettes. A little bit more yellows and blues here, just, you know, because of Monster Hunter. They got some like armor around the sashes and stuff, but I think they're great. I think they're lovely. And yeah, next up, this I believe is a re-release, Tsubasa Hanekawa, instead of 2, both of her forms, right? I feel like I've never seen this figure, like, ever. Like, I know it's a re-release, but I don't think I've ever seen people post it. So I don't even know how this one turned out. We also have the Office Lady complete figure for 22,000 yen. Wowie zowie. Awooga, you know, the hips wide, the bust huge. Just making like the meanest face towards you. Like she is disgusted that you're even looking at her. But that's attractive. Yeah, that skirt is not really doing its job. Or maybe it is, depending on who you ask. But I love the zoom in shot of that. But she's pretty, for sure. Shading on the hair, really nice blue. Shirt is being stretched. Probably the best part in terms of the clothing. Just really, you know, holding on to dear life. But yeah, character design carries this one for sure. Chizuru Mizuhara swimwear version 1/7 scale. 19,800 yen. This is our second sexy one-piece swimsuit. I don't know how they do it, but this is the second one that's like really effective at like the simplicity of just making attractive swimsuits and body sculpts. No like crazy flourishes, no flair. Amakuni doing what they do best, just making the legs look as attractive as possible. The suits super like tight to the body, wrinkles around the waist, right? Belly button visible, of course. And honestly, give them credit, looks exactly like her. The face sculpt, the eyes, just so spot on. Honestly, one of the better face sculpts I've seen for a Chizuru figure. And the hair sculpt, the paint, the shading there too. Very impressive. Under 20,000 yen, probably could be a little bit less considering there's really nothing here besides the swimsuit and the shading they have to do for like her skin, of course. But it's like peak simplicity. There you go. This one's good for sure. Unfortunately though, Amakuni is gonna lose me now because they're making their stuff extremely expensive. So, from Uzaki-chan, we have her sister, Yanagi Uzaki, Little Devil version 1/6 scale for 27,500 yen. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to link this. I kind of want to look for it. But her mom went up for pre-order a year ago, maybe less than that. I'm going to try and find it. I'll just... Oh, wait, I saw it back there. Hold on. It was a little bit less at 24,200. And I don't really see why they're increasing the price. I think it's just because, like, the economy over there is getting pretty rough. But it leaves me in an awkward situation where it's like, this isn't really worth it anymore, you know? They're very comparable. They're wearing, like, the exact same thing. Maybe a little bit more, right? Because it's not just straps on Yanagi, but it's still almost 30,000 yen for a really simple figure. And then I think it gets even worse when you get to Makoto, who's just in her like casual clothes. Again, 27,500 yen. And was once again around 24. I think originally it was like 22, but that might be before tax. And it's just like, I get it. Times are tough. Materials are costing more and all that stuff. Inflation, but how do you wrap your head around a 27,500 yen figure that just looks so basic? But I hate using the word basic because it's really a good looking figure. Amakuni's figures always look good. Like, her face is perfect here. And I love the idea of like the characters holding the masks. Like, they're getting ready to jump in and, you know, start become the Phantom Thieves, steal their hearts, yada, yada, yada. But it's just, I don't know. It's just so damn expensive for what it is. I just can't. I can't recommend it. And I feel like this is only going to get worse with Amakuni because they've consistently just kept raising their prices. And all their stuff's exclusive too. But hey, if you like it, you go for it. Your money, your rules, you do what you want. Don't listen to me. Just one guy's opinion. We also have this figure of Jidai Saki. Is that her name, or did I read that wrong? Let me see. Oh, it's just Saki. My bad. Okay, so Ami and Amakuni, as they do, partnering up, 26,400 yen. Again, a very expensive figure. This one has always looked good, for sure. Never really understood what these like lines around her armpit were, unless this is like a cast-off or something like that. But I never really got the impression that it was from the galleries. Actually, I'm going to cut myself off right now because I turned the page, and it is a cast-off. So there you go. Hey, so at least this one's a cast-off. I'm not going to risk it in this video for sure, but you can take the top piece off if you would like to. Honestly, it's kind of like that figure from earlier where her eyes look really nice. Like, the character design is carrying the appeal of this figure for me. Less so the sexiness, but I mean, that's kind of the point of this figure. It is the sexiness. It is just the fact that she's like kind of wearing a very skimpy made outfit that's going to make you want to buy this, right? But I like her face. I like her eyes. The red and orange, it looks good. Little snaggletooth too. And the horns, of course. You know me, I like that stuff. But yeah, that's going to do it for Amakuni. So how about we talk about Alter next? They only had one figure. This one came at the end of the month. We have Arknight's Lapland, Refined Horror Mare version. Horror Mare version, Light Edition. 1/7 scale, 25,000 yen. Now, this is Light Edition because there's a much more expensive version for 45,000 yen. This is if you're like a super fan and you want everything included. These like angelic goddess statues around her as if they're sculpted in like ancient Greece or something. I don't know, but it's rather impressive that they have these like stone statues surrounding her. I think there's an extra weapon here as well. We can double check that. For sure there is. Otherwise, like, you know, Lapland herself, same exact thing. So it's just a matter of, do you like this space enough to spend 20,000 more yen? But whether or not you do or you don't, it's just good that you have the option, because if you didn't, you would have to spend this much money, and not everybody's going to want to do that. So I really do appreciate them giving us the choice here. I'm going to focus on this one, though, just so we can actually look at the character. Really like the blood that's just like on her sword, on her fur. I think that's really cool. Just kind of gives you a hint of storytelling there. Like, oh, she's been in some fights, no time to clean up. But yeah, she looks ghostly. Like, she's so pale. I could tell she has shark teeth. I really like the color of her eyes. Her hair, the shading, like, her ears are so dark, like, basically black, but, you know, shifting into that, like, lighter gray tone. You see a lot of that in the tips of her hair, like how curly they are at the tips. It's, this is such a cool figure. Yeah, I guess we'll go back to the bigger base now. Will be a single shipment. Yeah, I don't think I would buy into this, but not because I'm not impressed by it. Honestly, I'm super impressed by it. Like, this is so extra. Like, they don't need to do this. They could have just given us Lapland instead. But I guess they wanted to be as faithful to the original arts as possible. And yeah, like, these two statues look better, like, sculpted and painted, even though they're all white, than some of the figures we've seen in this gallery today. Like, I'm being dead ass. These two look immaculate. So, good on you, Alter. You've impressed as you typically do. Not surprised by that at all. Probably going to keep an eye out on this one. I don't think I'll pre-order it, but if it went down in price, yeah, I might do it. Let's move on to Kleino. Little simple figure here of Roxy from Mushoku Tensei. 21,120 yen. Little lingerie figure, has a bit of a cute angle to it because it's so frilly and the light blue. You get one of those fluffy bases, so you don't have to peg her into that. If you don't want to, you could display her however you would like to, but honestly, because the rim does match the color of the lingerie, I don't see why you wouldn't just use it. I think it does complement the figure. It looks very cute alongside the lingerie that she's got. Otherwise, simple stuff, definitely looks like her. I feel like I've been seeing more Roxy on Twitter lately. Maybe or maybe not related to this figure. Who knows? Guess you'll have to watch to find out. I'm behind on that show. I haven't watched it since season 1. But yeah, good stuff. Next up, from Azur Lane, Kashino Robust Floral Strings version, 1/6 scale for 25,600 yen by Ami and Ani Game. So, Supple Cow. I could end the review right there. Honestly, I might. We've seen other figures of her before. It's always very chest-focused, right? But I'll give them props. They've definitely made her her chest and her legs look as like soft and as supple as possible. So that's a win right there. The colors of this figure, specifically, is it a kimono? What is she wearing? I don't know. I don't think it's actually a kimono. It looks a little bit too royal and rich to be one. It's got to be called something else. But I do love the purple and the patterns on it. The red on the inside, the golden trim, even some golden flaps, because why not? A lot of hair accessories on her, too. Do we get a close-up of her face? I hope we do. That's a good angle. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on in her hair. Honestly, maybe even too much. But, I mean, that's fine. It looks good. It's just like there's ropes and there's like this seashell with like 80 pearls in it and stuff like that. The cow ears, of course, little horns. It's a good one, you know. Unfortunately, not very familiar with Ani Game. There's way too many companies these days. Very hard to keep up with. But yeah, suggestive cow, do it now. Pre-order before she sells out. Couldn't think of another rhyme. Let's move on to this one. The 100 Girlfriends Who Really Love You, Shizuka Yoshimoto, 1/7 scale, 18,700 yen, Bandai Namco Film Works. Her hair is like very voluminous, very messy too, but I do like that. Kind of wish there was a little bit more detail in the books, like just nondescript books back there. Just put on some like text on the spines maybe, that would have helped. Just make up anything, literally anything, so that it would actually look like real books. But still cute though. I do like her eyes as well. Very pretty eye decals. Bandai Namco Filmworks also put up this figure, the vignettes. I was reincarnated as the 7th prince so I can take my time perfecting my magical ability, Silpha, for 22,000 yen. What is the size of this Silpha girl? It says 290. Pretty big, but that's probably to the heights of the sword, so likely a 1/7 scale. Seems like a battle maid if I had to guess. I do like the double sword stance here. Kind of a sexy sword stance too, just the way she's like holding on to one of them. Because she's wearing like blue and white instead of just black and white, I think that helps the color palette out a little bit. The colors stand out a bit more, has a little bit more shading applied to the waist here and the cloth at the hips. Maybe the leggings are glossy. That seems to be the case. Her face is very pretty too. I do love this expression. Her eyes, her eyelashes, her lips. I'm liking the lips in this video. Companies are going out of their way to make the lips look better. What is this frilly strip? Like, where is this connected to? Oh, it's the sword. Okay, so it's just like running and like wrapping around her. That's neat. All right, I like this one. Don't know who she is, but I definitely like it. 22,000 yen does not seem unreasonable for this figure either, so I hope them the best. I forgot about Furyu. They had 3 figures this month. The first one was the Detective Conan, Heiji, and Kazuha pair for 21,780 yen. Seems like a very reasonable deal, considering 2 characters in one, that's about like 11,000 yen each. I don't know how you could complain about that, especially when they look pretty faithful and the shading looks nice. Simple, but nice little figures. We also got from Furyu 2 Yuru-Camp figures, one for Nadeshiko and one for Rin. 1/7 scales, they're pretty expensive, 33,000 for Rin and just about 30 for Nadeshiko. Very similar like theming around both of them. You got the bike or the scooter, and then a cute little dog companion. I don't know if this guy's got a name. I think this one is, it's like Choco-chan or something like that, Choco-chan. I don't recall right now. I like this dog more though. He's cute. I love his puffy jacket. And honestly, I like this figure more, even though the bike is probably less impressive. I just like that she got off of it to pet the dog. She just like fully committed to it, sitting on the ground, petting him. I got a soft spot for that. What can I say? Rin, her bike doesn't really look like her bike. This is somebody else's bike, perhaps. I don't know why they would choose to do it that way, unless you got a new bike. Haven't seen any of the new stuff yet. But, looks strange. Looks a little odd. It definitely looks cute enough. It definitely looks like a charming little figure. But I do like Nadeshiko's more. If this one binned, maybe I'd buy it. Maybe. So did a little research here. This was originally a garage kit, and it got changed into a 1/7 scale pre-painted figure for you to purchase if you would like to. So from AnyGift, we have this Bungako Shoujo Toko Amano for 18,280 yen by AnyGift. This one's very pretty, very desaturated too in terms of the colors. Really not a vibrant figure, but I think that only enhances the appeal, you know, her gray hair and her similarly gray eyes, very dull, right? But like in a good way. I guess dull's not the best word to use to describe eyes, but I do like this art style. I think it is very appealing. Her dress, like this little sundress, is primarily a light blue, seems to become translucent at the end. Cute little sun hat too, slight emphasis of a breeze throughout the figure as her dress flutters, the twin tails that are braided as well. It's a simple, elegant one, you know, and it's very affordable. Feels like they could easily mess this up though if they don't nail like the colors and the details. So I'm a little worried, but definitely hopeful, and I love this concept. We also have from Reverse Studios, Girls Frontline OTS 14, Divinely Favored Beauty Heavy Damage version. This one, you know, there's definitely some damage here in this dress that she's wearing, ripped around the chest. It also seems like the bottom portion of the dress, which is draped all over this glass panel, is ripped as well, at least that's what I'm assuming. But then there's also like this cake that is just splattered all over the place. On her face, of course, because it has to be suggestive, and on her legs, which are nice and long and slender. I do like her hair. Her hair looks really nice, the color of it, and how it's kind of falling over the base itself. Her heels are like glass slippers, or I guess glass heels, and you can see her toes through them, which is a nice detail for sure. I wasn't expecting that until we got up close. There's the aforementioned cake just falling down. There's some of the icing on her legs, of course. Seems like we get a little bit of a bonus with this one, an acrylic block. Okay. But yeah, this photo definitely paints a better picture of like the aftermath of, I guess, the heavy damage, how her dress is really messed up at this point. You really get a sense that like, yeah, things went wrong. Whatever happened, things definitely went wrong. But yeah, an OTS 14 figure is always going to look pretty. I do feel like we're at the point where we're getting too much of them, but what do I know, you know? I just feel like there's definitely more characters from this series that deserve figures, but I don't want to hate on this one because it's good. I like this one, and the price is pretty fair too for a 1/7 scale of this detail and this scope. But we also have from Prismo Wing a Data Bullet White Queen DX edition 1/7 scale complete figure for 69,000 yen. Now this is the DX version. There is a cheaper one at about 30,000, I believe. We'll open the tab right now, which won't include that big background. Actually, it's 40,000. Holy shit. Was not expecting that. I don't know what's more offensive, this costing 70 or this costing 40. 70,000 for a 1/7 scale. It's got some depth to it, sure. It's pretty tall, yeah. Got this background piece lifted up by these purple and blue flames. That's rather cool. But like, how thick is that piece? It looks rather thin, you know? Like, maybe the wings are actually sculpted, but this looks like an acrylic sheet. Well, I guess you get the whole wingspan. That's definitely good. I mean, the paint looks nice for sure. Her dress, how it's flowing, just adds to that like hint of dynamism, even though she's kind of just standing there. Makes it feel like the flames are really like causing a commotion, and like the intensity of the smoke is lifting up the dress a little bit. You also have these translucent ribbons in the back, which look nice. I love this color, and I think this is a nice use of translucent plastic, but again, just a little bit too much money. Actually, it's not a little bit, it's way too much fucking money. But I think it's a nice sculpt for sure. Very lazy base. You pay 40,000 yen and you get a white disc. Like, you could do a little bit better than that. I'm gonna say this one's more offensive. At least, like, there's stuff going on with this figure, even though it's, like, way too much money. But, like, this is gonna cost at least $300 after shipping. Yeah, I'm sorry, Queen. I think you're just a little bit too much money. Apex. I was kind of hoping to save this one for the end, but we're here. I guess we'll talk about him now. Honkai Star Rail. Dan. 1/7 scale for 38,000 yen. That's a premium Apex figure. But even so, let's get the full picture here with the next photo. Actually, these photos are so low res. We need some better ones. I'm gonna go find one. Obviously, the big pull here is the serpent, like, dragon that's kind of created by water all around him, right? It looks super cool how he's holding it at the snout, right? Controlling it, that's his abilities, I'm assuming. Very, like, delicately balanced on these flowers down here. That's pretty cool, too. But yeah, honestly, like a 10 out of 10 base. You got the crashing water down there, actually incorporating the entire thing into the main figure itself. Feels pretty genius. They're hiding the fact that they lifted him in the air. It's not awkward by any means. Other companies should take notes. Lots of gold on his wrists, on his sleeves, very ornate. Color palette is like this really, like, dark green for the most part, which definitely works alongside the whites and, like, the darker blue or maybe even black for the pants. Kind of hard to tell in this photo. So yeah, it cost a premium, of course. This ain't cheap by any means, but they're putting in the work, and the company's reputation pretty much guarantees that this is going to be a very solid figure. And that kind of goes for like everything that they're making this month. This one is the Azur Lane Janisphere of Changing Clothes version. Kind of a similar concept to what Q was doing, with a couple of figures from like the Atelier series and Mushoku Tensei. This time we have a whole ass mirror, so you could actually see both sides of the character, which is pretty smart, all things considered. I really hope these sticky notes are, like, legible when you get up close to the figure. I feel like they're not going to be in this gallery, but maybe that's just something to look forward to. Or hey, maybe, assuming this is art from the game, you might already know what those sticky notes say. But yeah, she's changing her clothes. Hasn't gotten too far into the process. I like that she's wearing the leggings. So even though she is removing the skirt, it's like still kind of tasteful. You know, it's still suggestive, of course, but they're not really making it too outrageous here. Yeah, just a little embarrassed about it. Both expressions kind of follow that idea. The other one where she's laughing is like, you know, you caught her. She's not really trying to freak out about it, I'm assuming. But still, embarrassed about the situation. And then you have the Manju. Actually, is that 3 faceplates? She's pouting here. Hold up. We need to read. Let's see. Doesn't say. I think it's 3, though. 3 faceplates. That's good. That's real good. I also like the Manju down there. He's freaking out too. He doesn't want you to be there. He's on guard duty. Not doing a good job, but he's trying. We love him because he's trying. Also from Azur Lane, we have Amagi Wending Waters Serene Lotus version. 1/7 scale for 35,950 yen. The prices are going up, but so is the ambition. Because once again, there's a ton going on here. I can't say her base looks as good as Mr. Dan because it's just like a puddle, kind of just abruptly ends. I feel like they could have thought about that a little bit more, so I'm slightly disappointed in that aspect. But I do like how some of the elements of this figure are actually sinking into the water, like these orbs down here, which I'm sure we'll get a better look at later on in the figure. But she's sitting on this tree with her big old fluffy tails really nicely painted, hair draping down the figure. You got a sash with a nice pattern on it, really vibrant red. I'm a sucker for red eyeliner, so they already got me with this figure. And there's some battleships behind her, just in case there wasn't enough going on down here. A little crane on the sash as well. And it has like a nice sheen to it. Just looks really good. Like a little bit of a luster, maybe even like a metallic red paint. But can't really confirm that right now. Yeah, there's like a ton going on down here. Also, it's starting to thunder outside. So I'm hoping I don't lose electricity and then lose all of my footage. Boy, that would be pretty bad. I've been recording for a while. So let's wrap this one up. Okay, single shipment, 35,000 yen, 36,000 yen. I think that's an understandable price, right? Like, I'm not saying go out and buy this right away. Don't run to the store and pre-order this or anything. But there's a ton going on. This is a very involved figure. This, like, clothing that she's wearing is so thin as it falls down the tree and just kind of, like, rests at the base here. There are these battleship parts that almost look like they've been consumed by her hair. There's so much hair on this freaking figure. So, yeah, perfectly reasonable. But it's a pricey one. Next up, we have, let's see, how about this figure? Hu Tao, Fragrance in Thaw version. I mean, yeah, she's a little bit more money than I was expecting at 27,000 yen, but once again, they're doing a lot with the base here. It's rather involved, not to the same degree as the other figures that we talked about, but, like, it's still pretty nice as far as the base goes. The stones and the water, got that ghost friend down there, the lantern. Her weapon is really cool too, the spear, decorated in gold, has that like flame-like pattern to it for the tip. There's a nice pattern here on the back flaps of the outfit. I believe this photo loaded so that we could see her eyes, the red color, the flower pupils. Have always liked the design of her eyes, so these decals are great. There's like a very subtle red hue on her hair, specifically at the tip, so some nice gradation down there. Yeah, just some nice gold accents here and there, some flower patterns on the socks, nice little wristband over here. A little bit simpler than some of the other figures, but man, she is cute, and that's all that matters. So that's all I care about. Also, speaking of cute, I like her outfit. I'm not sure why, I'm not sure what it's doing that other figures don't, might be the shorts, but I really do like her style. And I like this playful pose as she's kind of like skipping along the rocks. Yeah, if I played Genshin, I'd get it. I'd definitely get it. I feel like I have to cut back these days because I'm not playing Genshin, but I'm excited to see how she turns out, and then maybe I'll be, you know, convinced when other people unbox her to pick her up myself. But yeah, our last figure from Apex, and I guess last figure for this video, is Chen. Specifically, the Halongdae 10,000 Mountains version, 1/7 scale, for 26,580 yen. This is another character that gets a ton of figures when I feel like we don't see a ton of Arknights figures in general these days. But wow, this is a killer design. Also, I don't know if you could hear the rain outside, but it's picking up pretty hard, and I feel like my mic is going to pick it up at some point. She looks a bit prettier than a lot of the other Chen figures I've seen. But really, it's the outfit that's the star of the show here, and I'm not exactly sure what the concept is behind this one. She feels like a wanderer or something, like she's been on a journey for a very long time, which would explain the cloak and the big hat and stuff like that. You gotta be prepared for situations, but I don't know. I like how her horns are poking through the hat. She's also got that scaly tail that she typically has. Looks good here too, and it's a nice touch that she's actually making the water ripple as she stepped into the water, this little pond. Very, very small condensed base, but it has this nice wooden frame with like these golden edges to it, the corners. Beautiful stuff for sure. Yeah, it just looks like a really, really nice paint job, really nice detailing in the outfit. Her legs look great as well, even though you don't really have to focus on that to like this figure, but they do have their own allure because they're so long and slender. And yeah, man, if you got the boat, that would have actually been insane. That would have pushed me over. I would have bought this immediately if that were the case. Why'd they have to show me that? I guess it's based off the artwork that this originally came from, but man, that's kind of a bummer. Unfortunately, you don't get the boat, but her normal base is still quite good. So, yeah, I think that's going to do it for the month of June. So thank you very much for watching this pre-order roundup. I gotta save these files before my power goes out. So wish me luck. Hopefully I have this out pretty soon for you guys. Let me know in the comments what your favorite figures were in this video if you're picking anything up, or if you just want to talk to me about something. I'll be sure to read the comments. Appreciate you either way. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time, and thank you once again to Buyee for sponsoring this video. If you haven't yet, be sure to sign up with my link to get 10% off your first purchase. I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Peace.